to the Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by the Lines and Play Picks. Coming to you from Oakland, California, Josh Lander. As always, joined by my counterpart on the East Coast, Nate Weitzer. Another great article up on playpicks.com for you guys today on Wednesday's slate in the NBA. Just a quick reminder to please like and subscribe on the video if we're continuing to bring those winners. We had a really good night last night. And remember, if you do need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head over to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Check out the local listings in your area. We're going to jump right into that slate tonight, Nate, for Wednesday the 17th.
Absolutely. We'd like some betting angles again tonight. We have your New York Knicks -4 at the putrid Orlando Magic. The Hawks +3 at my Boston Celtics. The Rockets +11 at the Sixers. Joel Embiid still questionable. Nuggets -3 at the Wizards. Pacers -6 at Wolves. Pistons +4 at Bulls. Blazers +3 at Pelicans. Thunder +7 at Grizzlies. Heat right now a toss-up at the Warriors. And the Jazz hovering around -4.5 at the Clippers, the short-handed Clippers. So that's intriguing right off the bat, right? You know, if you can get the red-hot Jazz at that number, not knowing if Kawhi Leonard's going to play, you know Paul George is out. We're looking at that. And also the Blazers and Pelicans, both on a back-to-back. Both had really strong offensive performances last night. So I'll let you take the reins on that one, Josh.
Yeah, I really wanted to take the Pelicans. I continue to think that Portland is not going to be able to hang with better teams without, a couple of their stars in Nurkic and McCollum available. But they continue to just put up points no matter what. And the Pelicans really continue to be inconsistent, even though they had a really great showing last night. The 144 points almost just continues to show that there's a lot of inconsistency with them in both their scoring and on defense. It's been consistently bad, at least on defense recently, and really good on offense. So why not take that over? That's really the only thing I feel comfortable with. Is honestly, it's also just about how Portland is scoring. Rather, they score the most percentage of their points off threes, and by far they have the least amount of points in the paint as a part of their points, as well as unassisted buckets. So there's a lot of one-on-one ball, a lot of playing from the perimeter, and that's where the Pelicans don't defend well. They give up a ton of threes, and they don't allow you in the paint. They give up the most threes, rather, in the NBA. So the over seems like there, I think, to continue with those two teams and their hot offensive streaks. And it's on the second leg of back-to-back, seeing the basket the night before often helps the shooters on the second leg. So I'm going to continue to take the overs on those teams.
Yeah, it's deja vu all over again with these Pelicans, right? We couldn't believe how low the total was for the Grizzlies game last night. That they're playing an even better offensive team, and it's only 4 points higher. You mentioned how the Pelicans defense plays to the Blazers' strength and vice versa as well, right? Portland is dead last in 2-point percentage allowed. Zion can just literally run circles around Enes Cement Boots Cantor. And, the Pels, they have a 130 defensive rating and a 127 offensive rating in their last 4 games. They are just lighting it up. As we mentioned yesterday, that streak's still going. 19 of their last 21 have gone over. The Blazers are on a 7 of their last 10 going over, and they are 6-2 against the over when listed as road underdogs. I love grabbing this early. I think it will rise closer to 240 by the time it closes. So absolutely. And speaking of getting things in early, as we mentioned, the Jazz are -4.5 right now at the Clippers. I think it opened at 2.5 some places, which I hope you guys were on top of that last night. Nick Batum, Paul George ruled out, Patrick Beverley questionable, Kawhi Leonard questionable. Yes, the Clippers beat the wildly inconsistent Heat without those guys, but this is a completely different animal. The Clippers actually haven't beaten a winning team since January 6th, and that's the Warriors, just floating above 500. Seems to me like they've had the easiest schedule in the NBA by far, and they're just 8-6 against winning teams. They're the worst team in terms of net rating in clutch time in the final 5 minutes of close games. And the Jazz obviously are fantastic. They have the best offensive rating in those situations. They are pretty much leading the league in everything while winning 19 of their last 20 games. And they're particularly good in three-point defense, right? They give up the second fewest triples. And the Clippers depend on that three. They score 38% of their points off triples on the road, especially with Kawhi out. They score 8 fewer points. They really depend on launching with Lou Will and Marcus Morris. So If Kawhi plays, I do like the over. I do like, two top four offensive teams to go back and forth and get this over 227. If he's out, I'm just taking the Jazz. Either way, I'm really taking the Jazz on the money line and looking for other games to pair that with.
I like it. It's interesting you mentioned that we tried this play the other night when the Clippers were playing the Heat. We kind of hedged on, ahead of Kawhi officially being announced out. We assumed he would be, so we took a nice small spread there. That backfired as the Heat are wildly inconsistent. To your point, well, guess who's not wildly inconsistent? The team with the far and away the best net rating in the NBA. This is what I was looking for from the Jazz last year. I wanted to continue to bet them as I found value, and they just didn't perform. This year, they put it together with Mike Conley figuring out how to insert himself into a team where Donovan Mitchell still has the ball in his hands a ton. But yeah, to your point, I'm taking that line early, and then I will see if Kawhi sits, and then if he does play, I'm liking that over.
Well, don't forget, they were hot last year when Conley was out, and he's out again. And that Joe Ingles point guard lineup, Jordan Clarkson getting more minutes, it seems to be helping them, if anything. I mean, they've won 8 straight by 14 points per game since losing to the Nuggets. So, yeah, they're even hotter right now.
It's true that Joe Ingles' resurgence this year has been huge for them. Either way, their overall makeup is exactly what we thought it would be finally. So I do feel very comfortable with that spread. Even if Kawhi plays, I'm still going to feel good about 4 points or so. But if he does play, I'm going to sort of, once again, hedge my bet by putting the over out there, as I think that's likely to hit with him in the game as well. A game that I like, that I know you're probably staying away from because at the very least emotions come into play for you when we talk about the Boston Celtics taking on the Atlanta Hawks. I think they're trending upward after one nice win against a Denver team that was depleted last night. Talk about that in a minute as well. But really, I'm looking at the history between these two teams. Boston owns the Hawks, winning 7 of the last 7 games, including all 3 last year before the bubble started. Atlanta still continues to be just, really hurt by those injuries. DeAndre Hunter is just someone that they can't play without. They don't play defense well without him. They give up 120 points per game this year when DeAndre Hunter's not in there. They've lost 7 of their last 8. They'll also be without Rondo and continuing to be Bogdanovich on the sidelines. And at the end of the day, Boston, they do play well in back-to-backs. They're 3-2 this year on the second leg. Last year, they were also a few games over 500 on that second leg of back-to-back. It's at home. They're back. They've got to defend at this point their homestand as they were putrid on the road, as you mentioned. Kemba hasn't been that good for them this year. I'm okay with Peyton Pritchard stepping into the line tonight with no Marcus Smart and no Kemba probably.
Yeah, I mean, this is a completely feast or famine team, so maybe you want to take an alternate spread and say they're either going to win by 7 or lose decisively, because there's really no in-between with the Celtics team. They just seem to so distracted, and I understand why. There's a lot of things off the court. There's a lot of questions about whether they can upgrade the roster, but Danny Ainge always refuses to do that. And yes, usually they use home as a huge boost, but not with no fans, not with no heart and soul Marcus Smart. And Daniel Tice, the extremely underrated two-way player for them, is also out tonight. I'm not trusting it at all. I mean, I've seen too many times that quiet gym and these role players on low-level teams just having career nights. Remember Sadiq Bey last week going off for 7 threes against the Celtics. Kevin Huerter, 6 threes, call it. Hawks somehow win this game.
Just so y'all know, I'm speaking from a place of a little bit more objective fact, but at any rate, it is still a bit of a risky game. I'm good with the 3 points. Nate's
right.
Not.
The Hawks are struggling. I do like attacking them. I wish that the Celtics were dependable enough to attack them. More power to you if you bet them. And a team that Josh is blindsided by, but I think is starting to come around, right, is your hometown Knicks. They've been fantastic since adding Derrick Rose. They lost his debut by 2 points, but they've won 3 straight since then. Since adding Rose, they have the 3rd best net rating in the NBA. They have a 115 offensive rating, which is way up for the team that had the worst offense in the league prior. And they're facing the lowly Orlando Magic, who, without Evan Fournier, he's questionable again. He might return tonight, but clearly bothered by a back injury. It's kept him out since February 5th. Without him, they're 3-11 with a -10 net rating. They've lost 4 of their last 15. They're 2-6 against the spread when they're underdogs at home. And how do they get their points, Josh, right? They're dependent on Nikola Vucevic. They're dependent on second chance points, the second best offensive rebounding team in the league. But the Knicks are the best defensive rebounding team over the last week. They have the number 1 defensive rating. They have Nerlens Noel patrolling the paint and Julius Randle balling out of his mind on the other side of the ball. Putting up Larry Bird numbers, as I told you the other day, the only guy to put up those percentages with 20, 10, and 5. I'm taking the Knicks. I'm looking to tease it down maybe because I think maybe a close game. But I love what I love tonight is just Knicks money line, Jazz money line. Feel safe about it.
I like it. Obviously, Jay Randall, put him on the All-Star team, killing it this year. It's really all about what Orlando doesn't have. I mean, God bless these two teams so that we still have a few totals that Vegas puts out there for us that are under 230. That's what the Knicks and Magic will bring you. It's at 209. I'm not touching that, but I will say that the Knicks seems like they're being still completely undervalued against a Magic team that's also without Cole Anthony now, just depleted by injuries. Continuing to have no Aaron Gordon, no Evan Fournier, no Markelle Fultz. And now no Cole Anthony. So, yeah, I'm not really sure, as you mentioned, where they're going to get points from. Terrence Ross has finally cooled down completely this season. He's gone from their offense. So I'm completely happy with that small spread and love the Jazz as well. So those two money lines still getting me near plus 200 money. Really, really like that. And a quick hit for you, Nate, just because Denver is completely depleted. Probably did help the Celtics beat them handily last night in Boston. Second night of a back-to-back. Nobody's playing for them, right? As I mentioned to you this morning, without Paul Millsap, JaMychal Green, Gary Harris, Monta Morris, all out. I know there's going to be some good DFS there, but Washington is hot 3 in a row, and I do like a small. They're underdogs at home at this point. I do like them to be able to run Denver out of the gym. Jokic put up a huge game last night, but not much left in the tank for him, I would imagine. And then the last thing I'll say is Russ will probably likely to get close to double-digit assists. If you take 8 assists for him and a Washington win, you're talking plus 240 on FanDuel. So I think I'm going to go that route.
I like the odds there, but the Nuggets have really done well against losing teams, and I think they can still compete. I mean, Joker had like 40 points last night. The Wizards have nothing down low to stop him. I'd be wary of trusting the Wizards to win that game.
Mo Wagner's playing better.
Yeah. I do like some DFS angles, as you mentioned there, with them shorthanded. Michael Porter Jr. and JaMychal Green, still good values. The Clippers, if Kawhi is out, you're looking at Marcus Morris had a 33% usage rate last time out. Lou Will is over 31% his last 6 games. Garrett Temple of the Bulls has been starting, playing 34 minutes, getting 26 fantasy points per game his last 3. You can also find value with the Pistons, with them sitting Blake Griffin, Josh Hart on, you really want to target that game, that Blazers-Pelicans game with the highest total. So Josh Hart, good value. Willie Hernan Gomez, if Steven Adams is out, great value. And then you can pay up for the studs, for Dame Lillard and Zion Williamson, and hope that they get into a shootout there.
Yes, sir. Good stuff. It's going to be a fun night tonight. I like a lot of these games, Nate. I know we'll both be watching, playing some head-to-head on DFS. Please remember to like and subscribe to the video. We'll be back with another one for you guys tomorrow. And as far as tonight, happy betting.